What's going on, y'all? Good morning. We're back. I know it's been a few days. The last couple have been a little bit rough, but obviously that's nothing to be too worried about that. We're here, and we're actually going to get into some things. I do want to point out a couple of things real quick. First and foremost, got to shout out a new subscriber. I'm kind of working on this one, so pardon me if I butcher this one too badly. Please let me know, and I'll certainly work on that. And hopefully we see you this Sunday for the Super Bowl stream. But that being said, Hadriel XP, I hope that's how that's pronounced. And apparently they represent Rated R Superstar Productions. I want to shout you out for the new subscription. Thank you very much. And of course, much like all other new subscribers, I'm going to shout y'all out, at least to the point to where there are just too many of y'all for me to name. And at that point, I just gotta thank y'all, just statistically speaking. I mean, that's the only other way to know, but I know to say that. But alongside that, we actually got a comment from the most recent video, which I do want to talk a little bit about here real quick as well. But it was in regards to Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble, and this one comes from Caleb. I'm not gonna read out the rest of that, but anyways, it goes as, it is not the best Rumble, it's good Rumble, a good Royal Rumble. I was just looking for John Cena to win. I mean, I don't disagree with that necessarily, and I also want to clarify on that because I think you misunderstood where I was coming from there. I actually enjoyed the entire show of the Rumble. I'm saying from beginning to end might be the best Royal Rumble, PLE, PPV, whatever you want to call it, of all time. I'm not necessarily saying that it is. It's just certainly up there, especially in recent memory, as far as what I can recollect, going back quite a ways, by the way. But nonetheless, I do want to say thank you for the comment on that. I also want to say shout out to the 730 plus that I imagine it's probably at right now that came through to check that video out, especially on such short notice. Like I usually say, I don't normally drop videos beyond 8:30 Mountain Time, but appreciate y'all for coming through. I do want to say I'd love for y'all to come through for more of these videos as well, because I mean, I do pretty good with those. Like, you're just not gonna get any one thing from me, whether it's sports or wrestling. You're gonna get all of it. And that's really all there is to it. But that's something we can talk about another time. I've wasted enough of y'all's time with that. We're just going to get into details. I do have to point out this is going to be a very sports-heavy week with the content. I'm going to drop some wrestling stuff, but it's not going to be as frequent as the sports stuff. Trade deadline, Super Bowl week. I mean, I think that speaks for itself. But anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about aforementioned trade deadline and the breaking news of the morning, actually. Chris Middleton has been traded from the Milwaukee Bucks to the Washington Wizards for Kyle Kuzma. There are a couple of other pieces, I'm not going to go into naming those right now, that are included in the deal, but I gotta say this is a really, really interesting deal. I think it's a good one that works out for Milwaukee specifically. I think it's tough because with the injury issues that you've had with Chris Middleton, it's not surprising to see that they went a different direction, but in that same vein, it's tricky because you get him and again an additional piece. It didn't seem that there were any draft picks or anything that were exchanged, but I think this certainly will be helpful for the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't know that it'll necessarily be their third option, but he's definitely the closest thing to Dame and or Giannis that you can get on that team right now. So, I mean, take nothing away from a Brook Lopez, but, you know, that can only go so far, as great a stretch big as he's become. But nonetheless, I look forward to seeing what this is going to wind up doing for the Bucks, and we'll see if they're done yet. The trade deadline is tomorrow. I believe it's going to be 3 o'clock Eastern time, if I recall correctly. But either way, we'll find out what happens with this and other stuff along the way, which, of course, I'll be getting into as we move along. We also got to talk about this big nugget that took place over the weekend, Sunday specifically. De'Aaron Fox is now a San Antonio Spur, and of course, Zach LaVine winds up going to the Sacramento Kings, and a lot of other pieces that were moved along between three teams. It was just really, really wild. But the bottom line to all of this is that San Antonio was the destination of choice for De'Aaron Fox. He wanted to play specifically with Victor Wembanyama, and now that's going to be happening. And I gotta say, this is going to be one of the more dangerous teams in the league moving forward. I mean, I don't know so much about being a threat for this year's playoffs, but it's gonna be something nasty in the years to come. I mean, much like the headliner for the video that I've been wanting to get to here, I gotta say, this is gonna be quite a potent lineup to deal with. You still, as I understand, have Harrison Barnes there. Chris Paul is still going to be effective to some extent, but again, we're talking about Victor Wembanyama, who, honestly, as he continues to grow into his game in the league, it's no wonder that this is going to wind up being nothing short of a problem in years to come. I don't know any other way to look at it. Yeah, that's all I can say about that. It also is intriguing for me as a Bulls fan with LaVine finally being out of Chicago. I mean, I didn't see a whole lot of things happening with LaVine there, even with DeMar DeRozan. Oddly enough, I just realized they'll be teaming up again in Sacramento, so that'll also get interesting, along with Domantas Sabonis. Wow. I really just realized that Zach LaVine is going to be teaming up with DeMar DeRozan again. Wow. Look out for the Kings too, I guess. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But moving right along, we also got to talk about trades that could go down before the deadline is up, and this one definitely speaks to me specifically. We're talking about Kevin Durant and Jimmy Butler, and oddly enough, it's been talked about the two of them want to play together, specifically in Phoenix, and that seems to be the one destination that Jimmy Butler is interested in. He's told the Warriors that he would not re-sign with them if he were traded to Golden State, which is really, really telling. I don't know why that would be the case. I wouldn't have a problem with Jimmy Butler in a Warriors uniform. I mean, I think that would certainly be needle moving, to say the least. I don't know if they would necessarily win it this year because of that, but they would definitely be much like the Mavericks, as I'll talk about here, the team to talk about over the next couple of years. But I gotta say, if it so happens that Jimmy Butler ends up going to the Phoenix Suns with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, boy, I gotta say that could turn around and end up being a favorite to win it all this year. Again, another team you gotta look out for over the next couple of years, as that's what I gotta imagine you're still gonna get from this particular window of a potential trio of Devin Booker, Jimmy Butler, and Kevin Durant. But either way, if this does go down, cool. Also to note, it is a very, very strong possibility you could see Kevin Durant back with the Golden State Warriors. I mean, that would be crazy in and of itself. I'm not sure if that's necessarily something KD wants, but I guess we'll find out in the next 30 hours or so. But yeah, there's that. And with that, we got to move along to the headliner of the video. Again, been wanting to talk about this for the last couple of days, just haven't been able to for reasons. And that's all I'll say about that. But obviously, we got to talk about probably the most needle-moving trade of all time, with Anthony Davis and Max Christie going to the Dallas Mavericks for Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleba, and I believe it's Markieff Morris. And of course, there's a pick swap along with that. I mean, this one's really, really wild to me. I don't think any of us saw it coming when it happened. A lot of us are still buzzing. We're still talking about it. Of course, I've said before, I actually work very closely with a Lakers fan. And he's not the most thrilled about it, but the one thing I say to him, and I'll just repeat this as I've heard this from other people, and I agree. In the next few years, the Lakers will be a problem every bit as much as perhaps San Antonio, because they're going to wind up getting those pieces around Luka. We'll see if LeBron is still around at that point. Maybe they groom Bronny into being a piece himself. Who knows? I mean, we'll find out in the coming days, weeks, months, so on and so forth. But I gotta say, Dallas is going to be really, really interesting to watch. AD, Kyrie, you've got Lively and Gafford when they're healthy. PJ Washington, I believe Spencer Dinwiddie's still there. Oh yeah, they did bring in Klay Thompson, who I thought was actually going to help with Luka being there. I don't know. And of course, there's a matter of he could have signed for the supermax of $350 million. Now that's off the table. I don't know any other way to look at this, but it's just really, really wild, unexpected. But it makes for great TV, and it's fun to watch. So, this is again why I say a lot of you should tune in for these videos as well, because there's definitely going to be a lot that I'll have to say about the matter. And honestly, it's going to be just as... It's going to be all the same energy and effort that I put into it as I do with the wrestling stuff. So, just wanted to put that out there. And I'm making this a bit more lengthy than I wanted to, but of course I kind of expected that, just with all the things that I wanted to go into detail about. But nonetheless, just to cap this particular subject here, I gotta say, if nothing else, I think big picture-wise, this definitely has shifted an awful lot of things where, I don't know if you want to call it a balance of power, but it's certainly going to favor teams in an interesting way moving forward, especially after everything settles. Once you get Luka on the floor, you get AD rolling with the Mavs, and then of course again, we're going to see a lot of what we get with Wemby and De'Aaron Fox moving forward. I mean, it's going to be something to see, and of course with the NBA taking the hits that they have, maybe it's something that's well needed. I mean, you just can't go wrong with something like this. It's the only thing I know to say. Now we got to just wait and see what happens with the Jimmy Butler situation. Maybe even KD as well. Nonetheless, that's all I'm going to have on that. We're running on 13.5 plus, so I'll leave it there. And with that in mind, y'all know what it is. Let me know what y'all think down below. I thank y'all for coming through. Like, share, and subscribe. And this has been your time with A&J. I appreciate y'all spending it here with me.